2 o'clock, so we'll call the work session of the Site Plan Review Technical Advisory Committee meeting to order. First up, we have 100 Borthwick Avenue.
Have to push to talk, or?
Nope.
No, it's all ready.
All right. Jeff Kilberg with Apex Design Build. I recognize most everybody's faces here. Dan Humphrey as well. We wanted to talk through the subdivision process and obviously get some feedback from you all in this process. And obviously this being Northeastern Credit Union's now Lighthouse's building. It is obviously been listed for sale and is under contract, and due diligence has run out as of 8/5/2024. So basically set to close in late November, and Liberty Mutual, being one of the neighbors nearby, is interested in purchasing the excess parking, which they've been leasing for the past little over 5+ years. So we can go to the next. Basically wanted to give some property highlights. 12.77 acres. Building is 47,745 square feet. There's currently 541 parking spots. It's zoned for office research, obviously encompassing a wide array of usage and opportunities per Portsmouth's zoning code. Phase 1 was built in 78, and phase 2 and 3 in 84 and 2005. As mentioned, Liberty Mutual does lease 264 parking spots currently, and that's what we're proposing to subdivide and sell to Liberty Mutual. You can go to the next page. This just gives some details on building, lower level, first floor, and then obviously the second floor. As you guys probably very well know, the original section does not have a usable lower level. It's all mechanical space, but phase 2 and 3 obviously do have usable lower levels, and then your main level and then second level. It's currently under contract, as we talked about. Due diligence ended on 8/5 and set to basically go through the purchase in late November. The subdivision process was part of the process with Northeastern Credit Union in terms of the purchase and sale, and if anybody needs to see that to reference, that it is approved to go through the subdivision process. Building is envisioned to be utilized as a Class B building for mixed-use tenants, and obviously we're intending some medical office usage here. After the 264 spots, there's 277 spots that are still available, which if you were to utilize medical offices in the entire building, you would only need 201 parking spots. So there is excess parking still there. It's well suited for redevelopment, has expansive parking, centric locality to Portsmouth, and proximity to other relatable businesses in the area there. Obviously this building is unique. It brings an opportunity to revitalize the OR zoning district and be consistent in utilization in terms of number of people, as Northeastern Credit Union once had there. Obviously they've moved their position to Dover, and that building probably has seen less and less usage over the years. Next one. So just to kind of give an idea, I know it's really hard to see the orange outline on that little exhibit on the left side, but that's the lease exhibit that we've pulled out directly just to illustrate what Liberty Mutual is leasing currently. And then this is how it would look in terms of a subdivision process with the easement. And then obviously Liberty Mutual will take over the green space as well as the parking lot, and then all considerations of, let's say, upkeep, et cetera, would be Liberty Mutual's responsibility. They do already have access to that parking lot. They permitted and built a bridge in the early 2000s for that. So just in terms of accessibility, they do have that connection to their existing parking lot, which is technically to the northeast. So that gives a little bit of detail. Obviously, this is an opportunity for us to answer any questions, get feedback, and be able to incorporate that for the TAC session.
All right, thanks. All right, open up for
So
feedback.
is there no, there's no work proposed with this, it's just the lot line?
There's no change of use, there's no change in users. They just want to own it, and we can accommodate them based on basically the parking lot calculations. We don't
need
need
that
it.
space.
And, I mean, they're leasing it, they want to own it.
Yeah.
From our perspective, there's no downside.
Yeah. We did connect with the county as well, Peter, on just the process for subdividing per Stephanie's recommendation. And we do have kind of the marching orders for that process. Pretty simplistic overall, though, for what they're requesting.
I think the biggest thing is you're kind of isolating it as a, with parking as the primary use.
Well, there's some considerations that we thought through, we think fairly carefully. One is the wetland impact.
Yep.
If you were to redevelop that, you would be hemmed in pretty drastically by existing wetlands and wetland considerations and protections. There's also overhead power lines that would limit any vertical development. And then, we have to accommodate an easement, a right-of-way to get to the lot, but we can't envision a higher or better use than what exists as it sits now.
I think where you're going at is that this should be a lot line relocation and not a subdivision, right?
Well, yeah, because I don't know how they got the parking across the street from Liberty Mutual now, but it's not, as a primary use, parking wouldn't be, a parking lot wouldn't be like a primary use that you could just go put somewhere without approval. And you'd have to get a variance, I think, in order to do that. So to isolate it like that and separate it from an existing use that uses the parking, theoretically at least, maybe you could do a lot line adjustment with the Liberty Mutual,
We don't know what's going to be in that.
which already has the existing parking use across the street. I didn't look
Yeah,
and see
that's
how
what I
they
was
got it.
thinking. It's already kind of a grandfather.
Kind of makes more sense, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
as opposed to a subdivision, which doesn't really make any sense.
The lot line would be, that's not bad. by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
They get the same
ultimately, you
area.
get to
Yeah.
the same spot,
Yeah.
it just becomes the same lot as the parking
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Liberty Mutual's
Yeah.
parking lot.
Yep.
The only concerns we have is stormwater, right?
And from that standpoint, we wouldn't be changing any of the existing flows that are there.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But the drainage system needs to be fixed,
Okay.
so that would be a condition. We'd have to do some study in terms of.
Is there a
Do you have-
assumption that there's an issue with the drainage, or is it a known?
It's just not up to modern standards. So
So
we would
even-
want it up to modern standards,
Even though there's no change of use?
yes. Just because it's emptying into a vast marsh that's a protected area, so.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah, we would want to
Where's
do
that?
some stormwater improvements in there while we have the opportunity.
And that'll be part of the discussion that we'll have to go back to Liberty Mutual with and have some discussing points. The reason that we started with the subdivision process, so we had some preliminary phone calls, with Stephanie and I can't remember if Peter was on there, Peter Stith, that is. But we had some initial phone calls with her just to kind of walk through what was envisioned, and that's why we started with the subdivision process. So if the lot line revision from Liberty Mutual side makes more sense, I think that's easy to pursue.
I think the way it is now, there's two lots that Liberty Mutual has, right? The building and then the parking lot.
Correct, yep.
So I guess it would be joined to the parking lot,
Yep.
and then you'd have that.
Okay. Any other feedback?
So the easement that's there will be for anybody to access that site, basically,
Correct, yep.
from Borthwick.
Yep. Obviously, the parking is not overlaid into this from that standpoint, but if you were to overlay it, there is still parking that is part of 100 Borthwick that you can see right there. So that still remains in place.
And is there any space, there's not much space that doesn't have the easement on it, and parking's allowed, but that's about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be hard to change the use to anything there.
Yeah, you're really, like Dan was saying, you're very constricted about what you can do there due to the wetlands and then due to the overhead transmission power lines.
Are there any planned new uses for that existing building on the lot? Or is it still running as
100 Borthwick, you're saying?
100 Borthwick?
Yeah, so it would be separately demised.
Yeah.
And then from there, like mixed-use tenants. So primary, probably medical.
No plans at the moment.
No plans at the moment. We've got some very rough demising plans put together. There will be other items that I'm sure will come up through the process that we'll have to go through Board of Adjustment with and Planning Board with, related specifically to those. But like the first step of this process is to get, obviously, Liberty Mutual's component taken care of as part of the closing. So we're trying to prioritize that.
All right, thanks.
Anybody have anything else?
All right.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. All right, next up, we have 165 Deer Street. Just looking at a parking demand analysis for a parking conditional use permit. How you doing? Good, how are you?
Let's see. Good afternoon, Doug Reynolds with Goral Palmer, Andrew Kerman with Goral Palmer as well. We're here representing Baywood Hotels for the 165 Deer Street project for the extended stay hotel. As it's shown in our letter, we're here with a parking demand analysis to support a conditional use permit application for the reduction of 5 spaces for the overall property. As it explains in my letter, they had some changes relative to the fire marshal's requirements for sprinkler systems, et cetera, and had to get to use the same generator. They have had to eliminate the 5 lift spaces that they were going to have. Again, my analysis goes through a number of items, indicating that the peak demand is, less than what we have. So basically, we're just here, to talk about it and see if you guys have any concerns, questions, and the like.
All right, thanks. I think Eric did review it. Our traffic engineer's not here, but
Yep.
he did review it.
He's here in spirit.
He's here in spirit. He didn't seem to have any concerns. Yeah, I'm glad you're not trying to.
Right, we
Fit other
talked about
spaces, yeah.
putting them in there to
Yeah.
keep the space. It's just as easy to.
Makes more sense to just get the
Yeah,
conditional
and
use
then
permit.
again, if they find out they get filled up too much, there's plenty of staging space to stage vehicles if they have to wait until the garage is empty or something like that. So we don't want to add spaces just to add spaces.
Right.
And what was the issue with the lifts?
I guess the lift required a heavier duty sprinkler system,
Oh.
which the generator that they've been waiting the 34 weeks on or something like that couldn't handle that sprinkler system. And then if they canceled that order, it would be another 36 weeks or whatever. So it just, again, I don't know if you've seen them. They're elevators for cars.
Yeah.
They're all over New York City.
Yeah. So if they ran into trouble in the future, they could order those lifts and upgrade they'd have to upgrade.
It would be a struggle to do that, I would think, because it would be a retrofit type thing, because then they'd have to retrofit the sprinkler system in the garage and things like that. I mean, again, if they found out they didn't have enough, they'd look other places to get those spaces. I mean, right, as it is, they lease out 30 of, or by the approvals, they have 30 spaces in the garage next door. So,
Okay.
I guess I have a question on the idea of just putting cars where they're not designed to be in that. Where would you be talking about valet service?
Staging.
well, again, right now, it's a valet system underneath anyway. Up on the screen, the top screen top, those are spaces all along there, front to back. They're already valet.
Yep.
We were looking at just putting 5 more spaces, lining them in that drive aisle. But if for some reason it's full, you've got the turnaround or the circle right in front of the building, where again, if they had to stage them momentarily to find an empty space, that's what they're gonna do. People are dropping off there.
Because I'm not a huge fan of going through the process of designing where the parking spaces are and then just shoving cars wherever.
Well, again, again, that's if there's ever an issue. Based on the numbers that we provided, we don't anticipate not having enough spaces.
Is that half circle area, Pat, in your mind, designed to always be moving, or that's legitimate?
That's a drop off.
That's a drop-off.
That's people go in and check in
Of course, right.
and actually leave it for the valet. The valets will just go around the circle and park in there, or they valet them over to the garage.
But people would still be able to get their vehicles out of the parking area. They wouldn't, vehicles would not be left blocking people's ability to get
It's true valet.
the whole thing.
Yeah, yep. Again, the row of spaces in the middle of the building, those could get out immediately, but again, I don't think liability-wise, they wouldn't let anybody other than the valets get cars out of the garage.
And you're not talking about stacking cars within that middle drive aisle?
Right,
No.
that's what we suggested at first, and
Yeah, that was gonna
Peter
be
said
problematic.
that's not a good idea. So that's what we're not doing.
Because I could see it would be difficult, it would make it difficult to get to a car fire in the back of the building. There was just a bunch of cars parked.
Yep. And again, the reduction that we're looking for is just 5 spaces.
All right, any other comments? No? All right, so you're planning to submit for planning board for September, or? is that the goal?
That's the idea. We just got to figure out the dates, make sure we can get into it for you.
Okay,
So,
all right.
all right?
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Next up, we have 282 Corporate.
Sorry, I saw Mike Mates here earlier.
Oh, you did?
I think he was talking to that first group when they grabbed it.
Oh, that's,
You know, that kid said obviously 24 times.
My God.
None of that was obvious, by the way.
Yeah,
But he still said it,
a lot.
24,
obviously.
obviously.
Yes.
John Chapman with Aberdeen Engineering is also coming.
Okay.
Obviously.
Did you get a chance to see that
Yeah, anyway.
write-up that I did for 89, 89?
I saw that you did one.
Good, you got nothing.
You got nothing yet?
And I'm working on the street and I had nothing.
Oh, hope he's not waiting until 3. He
Perfect.
says 3 o'clock.
I know, I hope not either.
Yeah.
We got no comments. Are we good?
Huh?
No comments. We had the grease trap, was the only thing I was thinking of, but they are showing adding one.
They're adding 1,000-gallon grease
Yep.
trap.
Yeah.
1,000-gallon external grease trap.
Have you talked to John at all lately?
I just wanted to be with you. I know Mike Mays from the PDA is outside as well.
It might be worth calling him, because
I can give him a call.
it was on the agenda for 3, but the agenda went a lot faster.
There he is.
Mike? Hey, Mike.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, because they're reusing buildings,
Yeah.
just can't be chiefs. The water service should be a good size, I'm guessing. 6-inch water.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Austin. I'm with Port City Air for John Shack.
Includes installation of 1,000 gallon. It does include installing 1,000 gallon.
Maybe it's the same thing.
Probably the same.
It is peas. Everything is off for us,
I think so. I mean, it's, yeah.
especially Corporate Drive.
Yeah.
It's the arm.
Okay.
Even though it's services.
Damn. Not a
So
fan.
John is still in his office. If you want to start, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're ready for,
I'm going for, I'm Austin. I'm with Port City Air.
if you just come up, just so,
Oh, yeah, you can present.
yeah, yeah.
You got the plan, so.
So, if you're just looking for a brief overview of what the project is, Port City Air handles all commercial traffic at Pease. One of the core business units we have is providing aviation catering. So that's food that goes on the aircraft, loaded in carts, very similar to if you fly commercially. We handle a lot of troop flights, so active military flights coming through on Atlas Airlines. And the current kitchen that we have we've outgrown it. And so this proposal and looking at 282 corporate lets us grow and expand our kitchen operation, as well as probably add additional office space. So we're also bursting at the seams of just traditional office space for our employees. Down the road, I guess there's a potential that we would look at dividing this unit and potentially leasing some office space out of it as well. So it's really set up as 2 units right now. Initially, we'll inhabit it all. It takes a kitchen build out for a commercial kitchen, and then just houses some administrative staff there as well. With that project, I think the biggest thing we know that needs to be done is the parking lot is basically a lake these days and just retains all the water. So there's a bunch of redoing the parking lot. It's completely redone, and then fixing a bunch of drainage issues on the northeastern side particularly. And I guess if there's anything else you need to know, you can just ask away.
Erosion grading control.
I looked at it this morning, I'm working outside, it's fine.
So the parking lot is going to be torn up completely and regraded? Or is it
Correct.
just being cut off,
Completely regraded.
completely regraded? And then it'll all flow to the rain garden?
Correct.
My biggest question is, you're in the Pease wetland buffer, so you're reducing the impact in the buffer by taking that portion of the parking lot away and putting the stormwater in.
Correct.
You're also taking that concrete pad out. My question is, you show that, I understand you can't remove the soil from the site, which I'm assuming is from the parking lot project, the soil. But then I see you're putting it back in the wetland buffer. So is it possible to fit your soil and stay out of the wetland buffer?
I think we could do that, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so we can,
I'd like that.
yep, no problem.
And the Conservation Commission in particular will like that.
Okay, so
I take it back, I did have one point. How come the dumpsters all the way across the parking lot? Isn't that gonna be inconvenient for kitchen staff to carry all the trash all the way across the parking lot?
a little bit. The truth is, most of our trash that'll go in that is generated from the aircraft. So if you think about it, the catering will come in carts, go on a high lift truck, go to the airplane. Then the spent carts come back in the empty car, in the truck, and it's actually disposed of at the dumpster there. So it's driven there as opposed to. Gotcha.
Thank you.
And so the only place that you're removing is that portion of the parking lot and the concrete. That's really the only site work and the new rain garden.
Correct.
and new stormwater piping, I guess.
Correct.
And you guys probably looked at the stormwater, looks good.
There's no piping, it's sheet flow.
Yeah.
It's all sheet flow to the rain garden.
Can I just make one clarification here?
Yeah.
Most of the parking
Mike, would
lot-
you come up? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We're not recording this?
What is recording? Yeah.
Oh, it is recording. Yeah, please.
Oh, no.
Michael Mates, Pease Development Authority. So most of the runoff, stormwater runoff in that parking lot goes towards the west side of the site there, through that drainage swale that you kind of see they're calling out to be reconstructed. No,
This, right?
yeah, there you go. There's the outlet of that rain garden, there's a drainage swale that dumps into the wetland back there. That will need to be reconstructed, and I've already met with Dave Price, so he's going to require a wetlands permit for that. But for the most part, the water does drain towards that rain garden, but there is a section of runoff that drains towards Corporate Drive.
And is that staying draining towards Carpet Drive?
Yeah, I assume they're going to keep, they're not going to make any wholesale grading changes. It's just going to kind of like a reconstruction of the existing lot, but it's going to not be as big.
Correct.
So they are in the buffer, but they are reducing impervious coverage. They are adding in a rain garden, so that was the idea of balance.
So the wetland conditional use permit is needed because we're in the Pease buffer. They're in the Pease buffer.
Correct.
We haven't done one of those in a long time, but it's my understanding that Pease allows stormwater treatment in their buffer. Is that right?
Halfway into the buffer,
Does it say that in the regulation?
50%.
Okay. Well, you got, looks like a little bit less than 50%, except for the swale.
The swale work is in the wetlands. That requires the NHDES permit. We thought that since they're, they might be able to revise the rain garden to stay out of 50% of the buffer.
Yeah, it looks like the rain garden, I don't know, am I reading it wrong? It looks like less than 50%.
But they, the asphalt that they're removing might be more than 50% into the buffer. Well, their asphalt that they're removing is in the buffer.
Right. But those are all enhancements, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So, yeah, I mean, when we talked to John Shagnon, he can detail this up a little bit better to make sure their stormwater is, within 50% of the buffer, and we can avoid a conditional use permit. That's a possibility.
Well, I don't think you can avoid the conditional use permit because you're taking up pavement
In the buffer. Yeah, okay.
and you're taking out that concrete pad in the buffer, which is all good, but I think that's what I was thinking kicked it in. I thought you were going to stay out because the stormwater was allowed completely, but I haven't, like I said, I haven't looked at it in a long time, so. Okay. So you got to get on the Conservation Commission agenda also. You guys are probably aware of that. Okay. That's all I got. You guys all set?
As I said, my comment was the grease trap, and they are showing a 1,000-gallon external grease trap going to be installed, so.
Actually, you don't actually have a.
So I don't actually have a comment.
Just wanted to say that.
He asked if I had anything. I did, but it was taken care of. Yeah.
So can you relay that to John?
Yes,
All right. Anything else? All right, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's all the business we have, so we'll adjourn extra early today.